What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast, and things are not as they seem. And there's when there's a facade, it's hard to see through it. But once you dig deep and you realize the things that are happening, you reality is stranger than fiction. I'll tell you that. This is a clip by the digital asset investor that he posted, and this is interesting. Take a listen.
The Founders Fund is a San Francisco venture capital firm. I mentioned him earlier. It was formed in 2005. The firm was organized by PayPal founders Peter Thiel, Ken Howery, and Luke Nozak, and raised $50 million for his first fund for individual entrepreneurs and angel investors. Of course, they would fund SpaceX, Palantir, and Facebook. Founders Fund was also one of the early investors for Ripple Labs, the company that controls cryptocurrency Ripple. Back during 2013, Ripple Labs started in 2012. Supposedly remains an investor today. In 2017, Founders Fund purchased 15 to 20 million of Bitcoin. On May 2013, speaking at the Thiel Foundation or 20 Summit last week, Peter Thiel said he gave a talk back in 1999 that mentioned the end of monetary sovereignty and how crypto money was going to, quote unquote, change the world. I do think Bitcoin is the first one of these that has potential to do something like that. Now, very interestingly enough, Peter Thiel's very double-minded about crypto, unlike you could say Elon Musk is, where sometimes Thiel will be like, I love crypto, but Bitcoin has issues because the Chinese are making money off it and mining it all. All right. So it's kind of like got this dual-minded with it. But they seem to be very much backing Ripple and some other cryptocurrencies that we'll get to later. Now, Ripple is going to be like a cross-border payment solution that's going to replace Swift, which is kind of like what Swift does today. So Swift is kind of like the intermediary. When you use your MasterCard or your Visa at the store, they're the ones that kind of transfer the money, the debit from your bank to the merchant themselves or the middleman. So Ripple is supposed to replace that. And it's supposed to do it around the world. They've worked with MoneyGram. They've worked with Bank of America. They're currently being sued by the SEC right now, but I expect them to win or settle with a marginal effect to the cryptocurrency themselves. And it appears that Ripple is one of their world order currencies. I used to thought it was an old world order currency because Ben Bernanke spoke at their conference. However, I think it's a new world order currency. Ripple is because of Peter Thiel's staunch involvement in Ripple Labs. The founders.
And there you have it. And the connections run deep, especially with the PayPal Mafia. And there's more clips that I'll be showing later throughout the week. But yeah, this is very interesting how all these individuals all spread out and went and formed other companies that today are really big, and we use them quite often. Moving on here, Andersel puts it this: the more liquid it becomes, the more liquidity it attracts. Because the more liquid it is, the tighter the spread, deeper order books, and less volatile. Thus, the more liquid it becomes, the cheaper it is to use for financial, business, whatever use cases, and the less risk. And he's talking about XRP, and he's got that right. Folks, it's just a matter of time before we see the liquidity, like you said, the more liquid it becomes, the more liquidity it attracts. So more people are going to be on the network. There are going to be more use cases or more usage of the network. It's just a matter of time once we get this clarity and this regulatory framework around digital assets. Now here's Jim Rogers explaining how everything really works, and Brad Garlinghouse always, or he's stated before, that before governments give up their control of the money supply, they're going to bring out their guns and tanks. Listen to what Jim Rogers has to say.
When I said I regret I hadn't bought it, listen, anything that goes from $1 to $60,000, I don't care what it's called. I wish I'd bought it. Are you kidding? Anything. That's what I meant when I said I wish I'd bought it. Maybe I would have made a little money or not. And I'm delighted El Salvador is doing this, but if you're hanging your hat on El Salvador, with all due respect, it's a nice place to go and visit, but it's a country of 6 million people with not much stability. and not a lot of smart leadership. So I would hope that somebody would find a better place than El Salvador to use. I mean, China, as you point out, China's essentially banning Bitcoin. Between China and El Salvador, China is much more important. Christine, I am not suggesting that the government has a reason, except for the fact that it might become a competitor, and then the government is going to act. That's the way these guys in Washington and Rome and London think. I don't particularly like the fact that we cannot have competing currencies, but they have the guns. I don't have any guns. And if they say it's against the law, I doubt if I'm going to use it. Or if they put on other regulations.
So, or regulations, or they bring out the guns, one of the two. And he's laying it out plain and clear so people can understand. If you're going to compete with these currencies, then you're going to have an issue with governments. And so that's why we talk about XRP and how it doesn't compete. If not, it almost complements. Like Chris Larson said in one of the clips when he's being interviewed, it complements these currencies and it'll make them stronger. Okay, and so it's the neutral bridge asset, and it's the currency that will be used in the near future to help settle transactions. Right now, their niche is cross-border payments, and we recently saw that Ripple said that they're moving towards tokenizing a lot of things. So that's interesting. Here we see that the IMF and the World Bank are supporting CBDCs at the G20 summit. We see that in a joint report to the G20, the IMF, the World Bank, and the BIS suggested that a cross-border network of CBDCs be established. It said that some nations have struggled to completely integrate the global financial system as cross-border banking connections have weakened during the last decade. So some nations have struggled to completely integrate the global financial system, which I mean, it's right now as it stands, there's a lot of friction in the system, and it's hard to get money across in an efficient manner. Now, according to a study, a worldwide push for CBDC issuance would entail tight integration of different CBDCs and uniformity in design decisions, as well as specific measures to mitigate macro risk. Okay, so I mean, this is a push that's happening, and it's not stopping. And so it's true. At the end of the day, just like Ryan Zagone says, we need clarity, a level playing field. Okay, clarity and that level playing field is very important. Hear what he has to say.
Today, the policy certainty in the U.S. exists for Bitcoin and Ethereum, despite the fact those are China-controlled platforms. So activity goes to those platforms. What we need to do from a policy perspective in the U.S. is look at the places where there are uncertainty. And one place I'm speaking directly for me here is XRP, where it looks like Bitcoin. It's decentralized. It's open source. We have 7% of the validation power on that, rather small in there. Grouping or giving clarity to those ones that are very similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum, that have the same characteristics and should be classified the same way. And then we're creating a level playing field across all the cryptos. I'm not anti-Bitcoin or anti-Ethereum by any means. I think there's a lot of great potential and breakthrough there. But we need to have a level playing field so the market can pick which ones they want to use and not be, as today they are, hindered by regulatory uncertainty.
And there you have it. And that's, coming very close. It's going to come. And it's just a matter of time before it happens. So, who will the market choose? We'll find out. This is the Digital World Podcast. I hope, I messed that one up. I hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe, comment below. What are your thoughts? As always, I like hearing from you. This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.